Hello, I'm Loren Locke. I'm an immigration attorney. The question today is, do citations and patents guarantee that my EB-1A is going to get approved? I wish they did. I wish we had a magic bullet. The Nobel Prize is pretty close to a magic bullet, but you probably don't have that either. So you have citations, maybe a patent. Surely USCIS is going to be impressed by that, right? Surprisingly, not necessarily. Even a patent, there has recently been pushback from USCIS saying, well, yeah, there's a patent, but is it commercially viable? A lot of companies will get patents and then do nothing with them. And maybe that's your patent. Most people's patents, if you're still in the workforce now, it's probably not already some product. It's hard to draw a line to, oh, I invented this thing and now you can go buy it at Walmart. Most people don't have that. But if you do have a patent, it's a huge accomplishment, and it's really your attorney's job to tell the story of its relevance, even if nobody's actually making something out of it yet. Maybe they never will. Even if they never will, it's never going to go anywhere. It doesn't mean that your unique accomplishment that the government decided was worthy of a patent isn't a super strong factor in your favor for an EB-1. I think a patent is always a huge positive. I can't think of any case I've ever had personally where my beneficiary had a patent and they didn't win. So I feel thrilled when I see that my clients have a patent. Citations, a little bit of a different story. Obviously, the number of citations, obviously the number of patents could vary, but the number of citations can really vary. Most people's patent have like one, or just a very few. Whereas citations, maybe you have hundreds, maybe you have thousands, maybe they're recent, maybe they're old, maybe they're from high quality journals, maybe they're from less prestigious journals. It makes a huge difference what field you're in, how important academic research is in your field. Like, is that where the conversation is happening? Sometimes it really is, and sometimes it's really not. That depends on what's actually going on in that industry. I also have a lot of cases over the years where my client had scholarly work. They did research and published articles, and there are citations, but that was like one chapter of their work, and now they've moved on. Maybe they were in a PhD program, got a postdoc, and maybe now they're in consulting. And, they were doing this really niche thing in the sciences, and now maybe that informs their successful consulting career, but they're not in that little niche anymore doing that same research. They're no longer publishing. They're no longer in that world of academia. If you have a good lawyer and you could tell the story well, then you can weave that together to say, yeah, sure, my citations were all a decade ago, because since then I took it into private practice. I took it into industry. Now I'm actually doing the work, that the professors and their lab assistants are only planning. Citations are a huge plus, but you should never get hung up on thinking that once you reach a certain number, then your case is a winner. Below that, it's a loser, or that they have to be from a certain time period or a certain level of prestige journal. I think people really over obsess about that because they want to believe that the process of adjudication of an EB-1A, and this also goes for EB-1B, and this also goes for national interest waivers, they want to believe that it's just more black and white than it really is. The truth is that there's no magic formula. Your case can't be plugged in to a special AI that says like win or lose. And, oh, it's because you had, 600 citations. That's what put it over the edge. If you'd had 599, you would have lost. Actually, so much more about creating a compelling narrative and making sense out of your career. If your citations were earlier, when you were still in school or shortly thereafter, you've done a lot since then you've got a job to do to tie together why you have the total package, and some of your evidence is kind of old and some of it's more recent, but it tells a coherent story about why today you're an alien of extraordinary ability. Years ago, I had a lovely client who had done so much research into um, how to deliver medicine into a tumor inside an organ, which was like, that's like gold because it's just such a feel good story. Wow, you're curing cancer. It's amazing. Love it. However, now she was in working for a corporation, working on making like recipes for glue, which is also really important. It's just not as like, oh, wow, you're a hero. You make glue so cars don't fall apart. It actually matters a lot. It's actually really important. But it was not clear to me right off the bat how, like, why did the glue company want the cancer researcher? Where was the connection? And how are both of these professional activities so important and a reflection of her extraordinariness? Took me some time to work through it with her and understand how she got from A to B and why both of them are really impressive and really important to society and the economy and the well-being of the United States and American people. But guess what? She's got a green card. It worked out. Her citations were really old, but they were impressive. Her current day work was really behind the scenes. And that was a challenge to show how important it is when she wasn't getting those outside accolades or that outside validation that you get from scholarly research. But it was a totally doable case and it was a success. Thanks.